Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready, because we're about to plunge headfirst into something you probably see every week, maybe even this weekend.
Yeah.
The surprisingly complex world of lawnmowers.
That's right. Whether you're aiming for that, perfectly striped look on your back lawn or just trying to tame a jungle, the humble lawnmower is right at the heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this deep dive, we've sifted through a really fascinating BBC Radio 4 show called Doe to bring you the most intriguing insights about this, well, everyday machine.
Exactly. We've got perspectives from a gardening entrepreneur, a tech guru looking into the future, and the inside scoop from folks at Toro, Husqvarna.
And the British Agricultural and Garden Machinery Association, too. Quite a range.
Yeah.
Our mission really is simple.
Yeah.
To give you a shortcut to understanding what's actually going on in the world of lawn care.
Right. From the basics of how they work to the really cutting-edge tech that's emerging now.
Yeah, we want to arm you with knowledge you maybe didn't even know you needed without, getting lost in the weeds.
Okay, let's get cutting then. When you think of a lawnmower, what image pops into your head? I'm guessing for most of us today, it's the rotary type.
Probably, yeah. You know the ones with a spinning blade underneath?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. And as Craig from Toro explained, the magic of a rotary mower is really down to that blade just whirling around like a helicopter rotor.
Right.
It's become the dominant design because it's generally, well, more forgiving if you let the grass get a bit longer than you intended.
Something I think many of us can relate to.
Oh, definitely. Guilty as charged.
But it wasn't always this way, was it? There was a time when the cylinder mower was sort of king.
Indeed. Yeah, picture those classic mowers with a set of curved blades fixed to a rotating cylinder working against a stationary bottom blade.
Like scissors.
Exactly, a precise, scissor-like action. The key here is the incredibly clean cut this provides. It severs the grass blade with minimal tearing. And this not only gives that pristine look, but also helps the plant recover faster. That's why cylinder mowers are still the go-to for, high-traffic, meticulously maintained surfaces.
Like cricket pitches and bowling greens.
Exactly, where even tiny damage can affect how a ball behaves.
So the shift towards rotary mowers seems to have been driven by needing something a bit more robust, maybe easier to use on your average lawn.
Pretty much, yeah. Easier for slightly rougher ground or longer grass.
But there's a really fundamental point that Craig from Toro raised that I think slips a lot of our minds.
And that's the simple fact that lawnmowers are machines, right? And like any machine, they need a bit of TLC.
We tend to just shove them in the shed and forget about them until spring, don't we?
We do. But with petrol mowers, that fuel can go stale over winter, leading to starting headaches. And crucially,
Blades.
keeping those blades sharp. It's vital for a clean cut and a healthy lawn. A dull blade just rips the grass.
Oh, right. It's not just pull the cord and go then. Needs a bit more thought. Now, one thing that really jumped out from our sources was this almost legendary British obsession with perfectly striped lawns.
Oh, the stripes. It's definitely a cultural thing, particularly here in the UK. Craig from Hayter, a proud British brand, now part of Toro, he was quite emphatic about it.
Said we're stripe obsessed.
He did. We Brits are stripe obsessed.
And how do we actually get these coveted stripes? It all boils down to rear roller mowers, doesn't it? They're the secret weapon.
Precisely. Unlike your standard four-wheeled mower, a rear roller mower has two front wheels and then this solid, continuous roller right across the back.
And that roller does something clever.
Yeah, it does a double act.
Hmm.
First, it presses the freshly cut grass down,
Mm-hmm.
and the way the light reflects off these bent blades is what creates that alternating light and dark effect.
The stripes.
That's the stripes.
Huh. So it's literally just flattened grass playing with the light. That's simpler than I imagined.
Basically, yes.
But there's also a really practical reason why these rollers are so popular in British gardens, isn't there? Something about the edges.
Absolutely. Many UK gardens feature those lovely drop-down borders where the flower beds are lower than the lawn.
Right.
The rear roller lets you overhang the edge of the lawn while you're cutting. It acts like a little support.
And stops the mower from tipping over and scalping the edge of your flower bed.
Exactly. Stops you scalping your precious plants.
That's brilliant. It makes perfect sense why you see so many of them then. But this stripe fixation, it doesn't stop at the garden gate, does it? I was genuinely surprised to hear about it extending to car detailing.
It's a quirky extension, isn't it? Apparently, some car detailers now even go the extra mile and put stripes in the carpet of freshly valeted cars.
No way.
Yeah, it really underscores this ingrained appreciation for that neat, linear pattern. Maybe it taps into a deeper British appreciation for order and neatness, like trimmed hedges and organized gardens.
Could be. Maybe some historical thing, too, from old estates.
Possibly, yeah. Those manicured landscapes.
It really does make you wonder about the psychology of it all. But is this stripe mania purely a British thing? Our experts seemed pretty much agreed on this.
Yes, according to their colleagues across the pond and in Europe, it's largely seen as a rather unique British eccentricity.
Really?
Yeah. While stripes are common on sports fields everywhere, obviously that desire for perfectly striped domestic lawns isn't as widespread elsewhere.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it could partly be down to garden size. Like in America, lawns are often much larger, right?
True.
So ride-on mowers are more common. And maybe they just don't prioritize getting that striped look in the same way.
Interesting. And apparently, those stripes can even play a visual trick, making a garden look longer than it is.
Yeah, every little helps, especially with smaller city gardens, right?
Definitely. Now, Hayter, they've been making lawnmowers since way back in 1946 in Hertfordshire. How have they managed to stay relevant through all these changes?
Well, by doing what all successful businesses do, adapting. They've remarkably stayed on the same site since the beginning, seeing generations of employees pass through.
That's impressive.
It is. And crucially, they've embraced the technological shifts. A prime example is their popular petrol mower, which they've now cleverly adapted into a battery-powered version. It's the same core design people trust, just with a more modern, greener power source.
The electric evolution of a classic. Nice. Now let's zoom forward into the future and talk about something that feels very much like the next frontier. Robotic mowers. Husqvarna, the Swedish company, they've been a pioneer here for a surprisingly long time.
Indeed, Yvette from Husqvarna shared that they've been developing and selling robotic lawnmowers for over 30 years.
30 years.
30 years, with over 3.5 million sold globally. That really highlights that this isn't some new fad. It's properly established technology.
Wow. 30 years. That's way longer than I would have guessed. It really shifts my perspective. What do you reckon were the biggest hurdles they faced early on to get to this point?
Oh, probably awareness, cost, initially, maybe skepticism about performance.
Yeah.
But they clearly overcame them. So for those of us still picturing clunky prototypes, how do these modern robotic marvels actually work?
Yeah. What did they do?
They're the epitome of autonomous, really.
Right.
You essentially set them loose in your garden, and they just take care of the mowing.
Constantly. Or on a schedule.
Either constantly trimming a little bit at a time, or you can program a schedule.
Yeah.
And being battery operated, they're incredibly quiet.
Quieter than petrol, for sure.
Oh, much quieter. And a more sustainable option, too.
So if they're so smart and efficient, why haven't they become quite as ubiquitous in the UK as maybe in some parts of Europe?
A few factors, I think. Initially, perhaps just a lack of widespread awareness, like we said. Also, that strong culture of hands-on gardening here.
The joy of mowing.
Yeah, many people find genuine satisfaction in the act itself. And there was maybe a lingering misconception that robotic mowers just couldn't deliver those crisp, defined lines.
Ah, the stripes again.
Always the stripes.
But they can achieve those perfect lines now, apparently. Yvette even has one she affectionately calls Penelope, or Penelope.
Penelope, depending on which grandchild you ask, yeah. And is this naming thing common?
Is it? Do people name their robot mowers?
Surprisingly, yes. Research suggests quite a lot of owners do give their robots names, almost integrate them into the household.
Like a little garden helper.
Maybe that's it, these little things diligently working away.
That's quite endearing. Now, the early generations often relied on physical boundary wires buried around the lawn. Is that still the standard?
Well, those wired systems are still a reliable option, definitely. But the technology has advanced considerably. Now, you can get wire-free versions.
How do they work? GPS?
Yeah, they use sophisticated GPS mapping via an app on your phone. Often it's RTK GPS real-time kinematic, which gives centimeter-level accuracy.
Wow.
It uses a base station and satellite signals to precisely triangulate the mower's position. No need for physical boundary markers.
So you can just draw the area on your phone?
Exactly. Define the cutting area digitally, easily set up exclusion zones for flower beds, kids' play areas, that kind of thing.
That sounds so much more convenient than digging up the lawn to lay wires. But okay, the elephant in the room, the cost. They can be a significant upfront investment, can't they?
That's a fair point, yes. The entry-level models from Husqvarna, for example, still start at a few £100s. And the more advanced ones, well, they can cost quite a bit more.
So it's a big purchase.
It is. However, Yvette astutely pointed out that when you factor in the ongoing cost of hiring a gardener, especially for larger gardens.
Right.
A robotic mower can become more financially competitive over the long term. Plus, they offer monthly rental plans now, too.
Oh, okay. Like a subscription.
Yeah, including servicing and technical support, which can be attractive if you prefer a predictable, ongoing expense. It's that classic trade-off, isn't it? Initial outlay versus long-term cost and convenience.
It's the age-old debate. Buy outright or subscribe. Now, Craig from Toro made a really interesting distinction between robotic and autonomous mowers. Can you unpack that for us?
Certainly. He described robotic mowers as generally being those smaller, fully self-operating machines, like the Husqvarna ones we've been discussing, that diligently patrol your lawn.
The little guys.
Yeah. Autonomous mowers, on the other hand, are typically larger machines, think ride-on mowers,
Okay.
that have been equipped with tech, allowing them to operate either with the driver or completely independently.
So your traditional ride-on could, in theory, drive itself around a golf course or a big estate.
Exactly. Think of robotic mowers as dedicated, smaller, lawn-cutting robots, while autonomous refers more to the capability of a larger machine to operate without direct human control, even if it can also be driven manually.
Which, as Tom the tech expert joked, might take some of the fun out of it for those who actually enjoy the ride.
Perhaps.
But this nicely segues into the truly game-changing innovations we're seeing. Beyond robotics, what else has really shifted the landscape?
Our experts highlighted a couple of key areas. First and foremost, the rapid rise of electrification and battery power.
Yeah, that seems huge.
Mick from the British Agricultural and Garden Machinery Association noted the incredibly accelerated adoption of battery tech in just the last 5 or 6 years.
Across the board. Small mowers, big ones.
Across the entire spectrum,
Yeah.
from small domestic models right up to large commercial units used by councils and groundskeepers.
And the advantages seem pretty clear. Craig mentioned battery mowers need less maintenance, fewer moving parts.
And crucially, they're significantly quieter than petrol. Good news for you and your neighbors.
Definitely.
Absolutely. The second major game changer, as Nick emphasized, is undoubtedly the robotic mower itself.
Right.
It's not just about automating a chore. It fundamentally changes how we approach lawn care. It enables that little and often cutting regime.
Which is supposed to be much healthier for the grass.
Exactly, so beneficial for healthy growth. Consistent, gentle trimming is likely much better than an occasional aggressive mow down.
Makes perfect sense. Now, on the more humorous side, our experts also had some fun pointing out some pointless innovations they've seen. What made their lists?
Haha, yeah. Ivette's nomination for most impractical was the frankly terrifying steam-powered lawnmower.
Steam powered.
Can you imagine a miniature boiler chugging around your garden? Utterly impractical and potentially quite dangerous, as she rightly pointed out.
I'll say. What else?
Craig couldn't get his head around cup holders on pedestrian mowers.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Well, who has a free hand to safely manage a drink while pushing a mower? It's just asking for spilled coffee and uneven mowing.
Absolutely. I can just picture the zigzagging lines and the disappointed sigh. And Nick, what was his winner for the innovation we could happily live without?
That would be a lawnmower equipped with a small laser to cut the grass.
A laser? Seriously?
Apparently. The rather significant detail they seemed to overlook was the high risk of accidentally setting the lawn on fire, especially when it's dry.
Yikes. Safety first, right, even with futuristic lawn care.
Right, perhaps stick to good old-fashioned blades for now.
So looking ahead, based on these insights, what does the future of lawn care look like? What trends are really gaining traction?
Nick highlighted the increasing investment and development in GPS mowing systems. These satellite-based technologies are evolving fast.
Aiming to get rid of the wires completely.
Exactly. Eliminate the need for any physical perimeter wires, allowing for much more flexible and precise cutting patterns around tricky garden layouts and obstacles.
And robotic mowers already have a pretty clever way of dealing with the grass clippings, don't they? They don't collect them.
That's right. Because they trim just a tiny amount of grass regularly, the minuscule clippings just fall back onto the lawn.
And act as a natural mulch.
Precisely. Returning valuable nutrients to the soil. You barely even notice them, and it's a fantastic way to naturally fertilize your lawn. No more wrestling with heavy grass bags.
Definitely a major plus in my book. What other exciting, almost sci-fi possibilities did our experts mention for the future?
One particularly fascinating concept is turf printing.
Turf printing. What's that?
It's technology that's already being used in some high-end sports stadiums. Imagine being able to create intricate, bespoke designs on your lawn.
Like patterns or actual pictures.
Even logos or images mown into your home garden, potentially. It works by using extremely precise cutting at a micro level, a bit like how a TV screen creates images with tiny pixels.
Wow, a perfectly mown selfie on the lawn. Tom's suggestion might be a step too far for some.
Maybe a bit much.
But the potential for personalized garden aesthetics is certainly intriguing. And where is Husqvarna channeling its innovation efforts for the years ahead?
According to Ivet, their main focus is on developing even smarter, more adaptable robots, as well as higher-powered autonomous machines that can tackle tougher vegetation and larger areas.
And thinking about biodiversity, which is such a big topic now, can these robotic helpers play a positive role?
Absolutely. Ivet pointed out that the advanced software lets you easily define exclusion zones.
Ah, so you can tell it not to mow certain areas.
Exactly. For patches of wildflowers or areas where seasonal plants are growing, let them flourish undisturbed while the rest of the lawn stays neat. It's a great example of tech working in harmony with nature.
That's a fantastic point. Craig also touched on the increasing trend towards broader autonomy in professional landscaping.
Right, the remote-controlled mowers for dangerous areas like motorway embankments.
Yeah, improving worker safety significantly. And in response to labor shortages, particularly in golf course maintenance.
We're seeing the development and adoption of autonomous fairway mowers.
Makes sense. Leveraging automation for those repetitive, demanding, or hazardous tasks frees up skilled humans for other work.
Precisely.
So if we gaze even further into the crystal ball, what are the long-term predictions? How will we be looking after our lawns in, say, 20 years?
Tom, our resident futurist, believes robots are likely to become the dominant force. Traditional manual mowing might become more of a niche hobby for enthusiasts.
He even joked about a potential nostalgic comeback for manual push mowers, didn't he?
He did, for the sheer novelty of it.
And the ultimate game changer on the horizon. What's that one technology that could really revolutionize everything?
Tom envisions truly multifunctional garden robots, equipped with advanced AI and computer vision.
So not just cutting grass.
Not just cutting, they could potentially identify specific needs, like the lawn needs scarifying, or fertilizer or weed killer applied just there.
Wow.
Maybe even seeding and watering, essentially becoming a complete autonomous garden maintenance system.
That sounds like something straight out of a futuristic movie. Though, as Tom also wisely noted, this level of automation could have implications for traditional gardening businesses.
True, but then again, the current labor shortages in the industry might create a natural balance. It's certainly a landscape that's going to keep evolving rapidly.
It truly is. So, to quickly recap our deep dive into the world of lawnmowers, then. We've journeyed from the evolution of cutting cylinder to rotary.
Explore the very British fascination with lawn stripes and the mechanics behind them with rear rollers.
And charted the impressive rise and increasing sophistication of robotic and autonomous mowing technologies.
We've also caught a glimpse of that exciting potential of future AI-powered garden maintenance.
And that brings us to our final thought for you to chew on. With the increasing automation of what was once a very hands-on chore, what will our relationship with our gardens become?
Yeah, will it shift from being primarily about the labor of maintenance to maybe a greater focus on design, enjoyment, and simply appreciating the green space around us?
It's certainly a fascinating question to ponder as you fire up your mower this weekend, whatever kind it may be.